Behind the Fog Part 3, all other parts down below. I'm trying the best I can today. Slowly but surely, I'm taking more steps forward than backward. The more I relearn how to take care of me and believe in myself, the easier it becomes for me judge my worth, happiness based on what I want instead of filtering that through the impression she gives me. I went from 16 to 30 lost in my disease, then got sober with her in my life. I spent a long time holding unhealthy boundaries with her because it was easier for me to just let her drive the boat rather than me have to turn down my dependence on alcohol. Drugs. I have learned that this is a common occurrence in relationships where untreated addiction is present. Another thing that I have learned is that on some level emotional and mental maturity slows down considerably in that environment as well. Once I got sober and began to slowly come back to life, so to speak, we did not do a lot to change that dynamic of dependence. It was just familiar and comfortable for us. I have been warned many a time about the repercussions of leaving a dynamic like that unattended, but I never listened. And on some level, I didn't want to change it because I didn't want or know how to. What I am realizing is that I have little to no experience with being truly independent as an adult. I do believe that I can do it, it's just a little spooky sometimes. This is not an excuse for me or my wife's behavior. Rather, it is me trying to work through why I am responding the way I am in this situation. I do appreciate everyone's feedback and support, regardless of how this pans out, Dear R. The one thing I do know is that this whole experience has turned out to be a wake-up call and a learning opportunity for me. After her continually getting upset that I hold her accountable for her inappropriate behavior, after the countless times she gets mad at me for telling her how much her behavior hurts me, after all the times she throws my addiction in my face but clamming up when I remind her that every single day, over 1,000 of them, I give myself to her to process her resentments however she needs to, but she is too afraid to face them with me and finally move on with our lives together. After her arguing with me via SMS while I was at work all day today, culminating in this dialogue, can you take some time and try and explain what you want from me, and what you want out of this? Whatever it is, I will try to give it to you. That's all I've ever wanted to do. Her, I've told you what I wanted. You don't want it. Me, remind me. Her, open marriage. That's when I walked in the house, served her divorce papers, and walked out of the house to go to my AA meeting. At least I know I'm doing this for the right reasons. I'm not running away. For once I'm standing up for myself and what's right. I know this isn't permanent, but I'm so emotionally confused right now. I feel good that I stood up for myself. It was liberating. On the other hand, it still hurts that it didn't seem to faze her. The crappy part is that I love her, but I have to do something to save myself, as this is just sucking out every last bit of strength I have left. She is going to move on with her life, not much different than it is now, just with so different last name. I feel like I'm going to be left with absolutely nothing. I did get on antidepressants, so that will help once it builds up in my system. That will help. I also need to get back into counseling. I'm going to try to figure out how to be alone for a while, otherwise I'm just going to end up latching on to the next best thing, and this whole roller coaster is bound to happen to me all over again. I'm doing better. It's good days and bad ones. Today is one of the good ones. Been focusing more on myself and my 2 kids, 3 and 5, lately. I've started exercising again and eating more regularly. I have also noticed that those random feeling out of control panic attacks don't happen regularly anymore. I'm doing things for me that makes me happy rather than doing things because I hope it makes her happy. I think the big thing is that I'm starting to accept the fact that none of my stressing, moping, asking, puppy dog behavior is going to make her want to change. Only she can do that, so I may as well just focus my energy on making me better. Another thing is that since shifting my focus off of her and back to me, I am now seeing things about her that frankly turn me off or cause me to lose respect for her. I mean, there's a lot there that I would probably never want to take out for a second or third date if we had just met each other. She is still living here, and ironically seems to be gravitating back in this direction lately. Currently we are pretty much cohabiting out of financial necessity, and because we haven't finished discussing the ins and outs of the separation. For instance, I would need an alcohol assessment, psyche exam, and whatever treatment or recovery might be needed in order for me to feel comfortable allowing joint physical and legal custody. Maybe get seeing me be so matter-of-fact about the divorce papers, and what I see in her that I wouldn't want to be a part of, has caused her to reevaluate which side of the fence really has the greener grass. Or maybe she's just trying to use a different tactic to seem more involved, hoping I'll play ball. Well, I won't. She would have to spend a considerable amount of time and energy showing me that she wants this. She'd have to go full-on transparent, quit drinking, using, quit partying, focus on the family, and show real remorse for what she's done to us in the name of self-discovery. Even then it would take quite a while for me to feel comfortable letting my guard down and letting her back in. All I know is that I have told her over and over that I'm running out of time and energy trying to absorb all this, waiting for her to figure out what the hell she is looking for. Well, I'm spent, and the wheels are in motion. It's a damn shame too, because while she loves me, but is not in love with me, I love her. And I'm still in love with her. It's just that I know she knows what I'm capable of giving her. But she doesn't want it anymore. Now it's her loss, not mine. I am keeping things in perspective best I can. I know where I'm at with this. I also know what my tolerance level is as well. Yes, she is still in the house, and we are cohabitating. Yes, I see her behavior shifting slowly away from that rebellion from the beginning of all this and back into perspective little by little. Today, although I may not agree with the way she is acting, she is being honest about her intentions today. No, she is not sleeping with Eric, and has had contact with him only once since I exposed him. I know because I check. No, I'm not a pushover, just trying to be patient enough and aware enough not to miss the glimmers of hope and change that may come. No, I will not wait forever, but I made some vows before her and God, and those vows matter a lot to me. Read the text conversation I had with her earlier today. Backstory, she was out partying and got home around 4 a.m. still drunk. I need to stop drinking for a while. I fell back asleep and didn't get Simon to school. Me, yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Smoking too probably. I've noticed it has progressively been getting deeper and deeper. But I have been working on not nagging, or whatever. Also staying out so late isn't helping either. But you got to stick to it. Got to want it instead of feeling like it's a chore. Remember that the last couple times you stopped it didn't last long cause you weren't really doing it for you. We can still be social and have fun, with not drinking and with closing the night at a normal time. You can do it and feel good about it. I believe in you. I can help if you want me to. I'll let you decide. I don't want to stop but I need to. At least to just get a grip on reality again. And it's definitely the drinking, not the smoking. The smoking just makes me laugh. The drinking makes me irresponsible. Got to reset my off switch. For real this time. I know that you like the laughing and silly part of smoking. But something to consider is that whatever it is that you are filling up by drinking and smoking is going to be there whether you quit one or both. If you stop one, then the other one will try to take up the slack. Your own words I don't want to stop is the red flag. That's why my drinking got so much worse at the end. I didn't want to put everything down, so I picked what I thought would be the easiest to sustain, and we know how that turned out. I know you are not me, but I also know that you have been dealing with a lot of internal conflict and have been unsure of the direction you are headed. I know. The other day you called me a sociopath. I looked it up to see what it was exactly. It kind of scared me. It was like reading about my own personality. Yeah, spooky sort of. I think it's important to realize the caliber of some of this stuff. You're not broken, but I think that maybe it's time for you to talk and me to listen. Baby steps out from under the grip of your doppelganger. With or without my wife by my side, I will know that I took an active role in trying to shape my world the best I could. More so, I can move on to whatever life brings me next and not have any doubts, or what ifs lingering like black holes in the story of my past. If this turns out with her and I together, there will be no question for either of us that I am the man I claim to be today, and that for better or worse, for rich or poor, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, I am right here. I always have been. Another thing, I have talked with my in-laws, and a few other elderly couples trying to get perspective on the things they did to stay happily married for 20, 30, 40 years, etc. One common thread I got from all of them was that people change, things can get boring, and sometimes outright nuts. My in-laws went through much worse than this and came out the other end together and happy. I asked them how they did it, and the first thing I noticed was that there was no placement of blame, or who instigated. Rather, there was an honest appraisal in what each person's role was, and a common thread of patience, tolerance, and forgiveness. If these people can get past heavier trauma for a longer time and come out the other end better for it, then certainly I can at least try to model that behavior in my own life. I closed up shop on trying to bring our marriage back to good. She has absolutely no intention in doing the work necessary to find out how we got here and how to get out together. For me, I have done what I told her I would do from the beginning, which was to keep fighting for us, trying to restore our marriage to a place where we could move forward. That time and effort has come to an end. The respect I used to have of her and her morals and values has all been depleted, eroded away from me through all of the sadness, frustration, and pain that I have endured on a daily basis, almost relentlessly aiming to disintegrate any evidence that we were ever a couple for the last decade. All of the strength, bravery, courage, love, and support we have built up in each other and showed others around us has all but been wiped out in just under 6 months. I have learned through this whole thing that I had lost sight of what was most important to me, my 2 children. Too many times since all this started, I have offloaded them to a sitter or relative only to follow my WS around the local bar scene so I could be near her. In her orbit, if you will. Remember, I'm a recovering alcoholic. So how irrational is that decision for me? More nights than I can count, even with all my telling myself I wouldn't. I have found myself pacing slowly back and forth in the dark late at night, gazing out the window and down the street, hoping that the next set of lights was our car coming back home. More nights than any husband, father should, which should never be needed. I have found myself loading our kids in the car at 3 to 4 in the morning and driving here or there to scoop mommy up and pour her into the passenger seat so we could get her back home safe. That has happened enough times that sometimes my kids ask if we can go on one of those late-night driving adventures. What they don't see is my heart breaking at the prospect that they don't know why that was happening or why it shouldn't be happening. The big glass bubble of innocence that I have tried to keep over them at their young age is starting to form small cracks and chips in it. As their parent, I am responsible for making sure that bubble is strong when it needs to be, flexible when it is time for them to learn more, and clean to the point of being almost invisible to them. I have work to do, work that I want to do to make that right again. More than once we have gotten into yelling matches where we would both maliciously say hurtful things to each other out of frustration, only to realize that my kids are on the floor in the living room less than 20 feet away playing and trying to act like they don't hear us. But we all know they heard and saw all of it. I have watched me and my kids' behavior deteriorate and have decided enough is enough. I will no longer allow my home to be a breeding ground for irresponsibility, deceit, cruelty, or emotional abuse. I am a great father and it's high time I start acting like it again. So, I am filing for divorce and plan on concentrating on what matters most, my and my children's emotional and physical well-being. This is a letter that I'm sending to my sister-in-law who happens to be a lawyer. Ironically, her entire family is on my side with all this and are dumbfounded that their daughter would or could act this way. Okay, so we are moving forward with the divorce. It is the last thing that I would ever choose, but she has decided that there is no part of her that wants to try to reconcile. In fact, lately she treats me like no more than a roommate she is stuck living with based on circumstances. It is so hard for me to sit in the same room with her and watch her act like I don't even exist. I still don't have a clear explanation of how she got here and why she doesn't want to try. It is so exhausting and I feel completely alone and abandoned. The reason I am texting you is that neither of us can afford a lawyer, and I don't think we would need one unless we can't agree on stuff. That being said, here's what I am looking at that would be in the best interest of our children in the near term. I would get the house and assume ownership of the note and the deed. This home is where a family is being grown, and the kids should not be displaced because of what she wants to do now. She agrees with this, and frankly her stance is that apparently she doesn't want to have anything to do with this place any longer. Although she did choose this house when we were shopping, I would assume ownership of one car, and she would retain ownership of the Saturn. The reason being is that vehicle is more reliable over the long term, and much safer with airbags and anti-lock brakes. Also, maintenance will be less frequent as this car is much newer. There is more room of a family to do family, home-oriented things, like grocery shopping with the kids, hauling household items, driving kids and kids' friends here and there, etc. You get the idea. Also, this car was a replacement for my vehicle, which was totaled and replaced through my insurance. This part is the most important and most touchy part: custody of the kids. Let me start by paraphrasing some key points on this subject through this year. She loves her kids. She can be selfish at times. Oftentimes she doesn't come to her senses and acknowledge wrongdoing until after the fact, but the damage is already done. For this whole year she has been getting progressively more and more reckless and irresponsible with her actions, usually falling back on the typical "I'm sorry, it won't happen again, it's not a big deal" kind of response. She has made it clear to me more than once that she loves her kids, but if she had a choice again, she would have never married me or had children when she did. This stance, along with her constantly and regularly choosing time away from home in favor of bar hopping, getting drunk and high, and staying at various, mostly male-owned, places for after-parties, makes it fairly evident that the safety and security of our children is not a priority to her right now. I have had to cover for her not coming home or coming home and passing out not getting Simon to school at least 4 or 5 times this year. The times when she is there to get that done, I usually come home and see the house in shambles. Dirty dishes all over the place, organic food on the floor and in the couch, cushions decomposing, black bananas, dark brown apple cores, sandwich meat, and crust hardened, jelly congealed and hard, etc. It is obvious that there is not an appropriate amount of parental guidance on her part, leaving the kids to fend for themselves. There are times when it is evident that 5-year-old Simon takes on the role of caretaker in many situations where it should not be necessary, like him doing his best to get Marissa and himself breakfast because Amanda won't wake up to care for it herself like she should be. What if there was a fire, or an accident like one of the kids getting a head injury or cut or something that needed immediate attention and Amanda wasn't available to them? Regarding custody of the kids, based on her behavior, which she sees nothing wrong with, I cannot reliably trust that she could be responsible enough to place our kids' needs before her wants and not put them in emotional and possibly physical danger. That being said, what I want is to have joint legal custody so we can both do things like authorize medical care, schooling, etc. I would also want to retain full physical custody of the kids until such time that she can take a psychological eval and a drug and alcohol assessment. Then, based on the outcomes of those, take the appropriate steps that would be needed to get better. When she can pass those 2 tests and can prove to me through right and responsible behavior, I will then be willing to readdress the issue of joint physical custody. She is still wayward. Ironically, ever since I confronted the man she had the affair with and exposed their actions to his parents, he is not talking to her. And believe me, she tries to. Frankly, at this point, I really don't care whether or not she is still sleeping with him, or anyone for that matter. It was painfully clearer than ever that not only does she not want to do the things that can work to save our marriage, she also has seemingly lost all respect and consideration for my feelings. We can sit in the room together and not communicate at all. Typically, I was the one who initiated, but I gave up on that too, as usually her response would be some generic one-liner one would reply with if you wanted to be polite but didn't give a damn what was being said. Okay, so a couple weeks ago after this last, I went back in fiasco. That pink cloud ended with a typical, I'm going to the bar. Won't be out long, to closing bar. To I'm going to go to Brianna's house to hang out. I'll probably just stay there. I know this routine, I say to myself. And I go about my business trying as hard as I can to not stay preoccupied with the fact that once again she chose out there over just coming home. Now here's the insane part, and at the moment I read this reply, whatever may have been left for me to hold on to and try to nurture vaporized before my eyes. While I was sitting in my cube at work, this was her response to me telling her that I didn't appreciate how she treated me by staying out yet again with complete disregard of me and the kids' feelings. I've told you before that it's not my intention to hurt you. I wasn't out partying and getting wasted all night last night. We had a few drinks, then I went and hung out with Tony. Before you start overthinking things, let me tell you that he is in your position right now. His wife cheated on him while he was in Iraq, and he is well aware of our situation. He knew it was you that called him the other day. Like I told you earlier, we've hung out a couple times and he's a cool guy. I'm not liking him, just enjoy talking. Like I said, he is in a similar situation. I was trying to not throw it in your face that I was hanging out with a guy. Wasn't trying to lie. That sealed the deal right then and there for me. That blows my mind. Comments. So, she's helping another man recover from infidelity. But not you. Wow. She replaced Eric with Tony. So this Tony is the new OM. Actually, OP, this shouldn't blow your mind. Remember, this is a woman that actually wanted you to fix things between her and her OM. Then she starts smoking weed in your own home with the children around and wants an open marriage. Something is seriously broken inside of her and you can't be the one to fix her. I hate to see another marriage bite the dust, but you have no choice. You said you were seeing a lawyer a couple of months ago. What's the progress on that? Did you put it on the back burner when you tried to R? Now you've learned that there's no way you can R with an unremorseful, unrepentant WS. She's still going out and banging other men, being a party girl at bars. OP responds, I have gone through a lot, as have my children. Nobody should ever have to suffer so much at the whim of another person. I know many of you correctly predicted the outcome from the onset of this story, and believe me, I can see why. I thank you all for staying supportive and actually caring about me as I went on this journey. This was the way I had to do it to be certain that I had done all I could to save this marriage, and that if it was still destined to fail, it wouldn't be for lack of effort on my part. One other thing I have learned about me is that I am stronger than I thought I was. Sure, there are still days when a song comes on, or a memory meanders on by that will make me think of the way it used to be, when we were happy, and know that we won't have that together again, and it will make me sad, remembering how she would look down at Simon, our firstborn, and a calm would overtake her. Then she would look at me and we would lock eyes while he was sleeping, as if to say to each other, thank you. I love you. I'm here always. I get it. I never want this to end. We could sit for hours like that. What I do know is that even though this chapter in my story is coming to a close, I can move on to the next chapter knowing that I have grown as a man, a father, and a spouse. I am not angry. I am not beaten. I am not resentful. I do feel pain, but not in a way that is ominous. Rather, it is embraced on some level. As a recovering alcoholic, just feeling anything is a monumental milestone of recovery. I embrace it and want to know it. I can know that when life dealt me a bad hand, I did not fold. Instead, I ponied up to the table, ready to try my best to play well the hand I was dealt. I believe I have done that. I am not scared. I know I can be brave. I am not lonely. I know that God is right here with me. I am not sad, for I had a chance to be shown what was really important. And I wasn't it. My kids were, are, and always will be. And I will love again, maybe not as intensely as the start of my first love, but it will surely be appreciated many times more than my first, as now I understand that I cannot take for granted or overlook even the smallest detail. because if I do I will not be living my life as fully as I could be. I almost caught myself being bummed that my STBX would rather be out partying that day than be with me. But then I came to my senses and remembered it's Father's Day. Not be nice to your husband day. I commenced to spend the entire day off at waist level playing with the kids, playing fort, going to the park, going to visit my father at his work while I treat myself to a new accessory for my new tablet. I told my father that I loved him, and my kids told me the same. It feels great to be in the middle of this father-child lineage. That is what makes Father's Day matter to me, and I no longer need her recognition, praise, or approval to know I'm doing right by my family. I got here kicking and screaming as it wasn't my choice to go this route. But life has a way of feeding me the things I need instead of the things I think I want. Taking stock of the last few years, I realized that there were many things that I had chalked up to compromise in the name of marriage. Today I realize I was choosing to settle so as to not rock the boat or whatever. The point is that I am a lot more capable as an individual, a partner, and a parent than I had been giving myself credit for in the wake of my disease, hitting bottom, and the rise back out through recovery. So here I sit, replying to unexpected friends in a more unexpected venue. Feeling better about myself and what I am worth to the people I care about and who care about me. I'm more prepared to venture out into this next chapter in my story than ever before. And when the pink cloud of this new way my life is heading starts to thin out, or when I may feel unsure or alone in my decisions or the direction I'm headed, I will always know that there is a place that I can go where like-minded people take the time from their own lives to be there to offer support and advice to the next lost soul, and I can feel comfort. Days later, it is done. We signed the divorce papers in front of a notary last night. The details are house, SUV, joint checking account, full physical custody of the kids to me. She will also pay monthly child support to me. If she takes a chemical assessment, goes to treatment, and shows a marked and consistent improvement in her behavior regarding parental and general responsibility, at that time I may reconsider the custody issue. This is outlined in the divorce papers, and also in a separate document that we both signed and dated and will include in the divorce filing. She does not contest any of this. She found an apartment and will be moving out in a week or two. I never asked for any of this, and I went kicking and screaming through this year. I have put up with a lot more than anyone should have to. But I believe I have played the cards I was dealt the best I knew how, and know that I did all I could do to salvage this relationship. I must say that I'm just glad it's over. Now I can get back to living my life and giving my kids good role model. I never wanted any of this and have been trying to play well the cards I was dealt the best you know how. She is in the process of moving into her new place as we speak. I have been trying to stay strong for myself and for our kids, but seeing places where things used to be that are now bare is a constant reminder of me watching a major part of my life evaporate before my eyes. I thought I had already went through the grieving process, but it is obvious to me now that I haven't finished. This part seems like the hardest part as I watch it all become painfully real. I just want this feeling of being discarded, of not being good enough to keep around in her eyes, to pass. I just ask you, my support system, to bless me with your prayers, guidance, and advice on how to get through this transition without losing a major part of myself, and to get back to a pace where I can feel like I can once again be useful to someone else. What advice you guys got for OP? And a short story too. I have been separated from my wife for 10 weeks. She left. This is not the first time we have separated. She left the children with me and wants me to have physical custody, with joint visitation. I pay all the bills, always have. Did most of the cooking, laundry, cleaning, car maintenance, lawn care. Romancing when we were together. So not much different now, except the romancing. That stopped more than a year ago. I got tired of constantly trying only to be pushed away, rejected. Only a man truly knows how bad this feels. The effect of continued rejection has on your self-esteem, pride, ego if you will. I am surprised at many of the similarities with everybody's experiences. I won't go so far as to say that my emotions have leveled, but I am much better at recognizing the triggers. In time I will post my story. It's a doozy. I should have never accepted her back into my life 6 years ago, but I can't change time. I did the 180. Things did not go well for her. I took her back for the sake of our family and worked hard reconciliation. Fast forward to 6 months ago. Over the past year I discovered EAs and confronted her with them. Of course, she denied them, even with evidence. 6 months ago, she gets a new job that requires travel. 3 months ago, she walks out on me and her children again. I discover even more EAs. She even went out to dinner with them. Still denies it, but says all she wants is her own life. She says she is an adult, and she can do what she wants. Bottom line is, I don't want her back. The boys and I are fine. Better even. How do I interact with her? The 180 doesn't seem to apply. The above information is only the tip of the iceberg this soap opera of a marriage had become over the past 10 years. 21 years in total. I'm finished with her drama and manipulation. I have an appointment with an attorney, but, watching the sheer volume of texting going on, she is working hard to land him. In time, the pie will get what I need. She is quickly working on her new life, and her contact with her children is slowly diminishing. What I don't get is that she wants me to be the one to file first. Strategy, guilt, both. Our lives are better without her. I'm just making sure I don't get taken advantage of anymore. We have already been separated 3 months. Fast as 3 months in my life. Here we have to be separated 1 year before we can file. Or, get some information. I can file tomorrow. We have been separated for the required 3 months. I could always get the proof I need and keep it under wraps. Of course, it would be cheaper to do it ourselves. But this would be a valuable bargaining tool should she choose to not fulfill on promises. Can't really trust her anyway. She hasn't even spoken, texted, or even wanted to see her children in a couple of weeks. I know I might be coming off harsh, but I've been living with this kind of behavior a very long time. Just need to protect my children, my future interests. There is a lot on the line. Her friends tell me that she is feeling very guilty about leaving. They tell me she is doing this for herself, and she wants her own life. She has told her mother that she never signed on to be a housewife. This really threw me. I never expected her to be a housewife. When she wanted to work outside the house, she did. When she didn't, I still had to hire people to clean house. And when the children were smaller, had daycare, I cooked, cleaned in between the housekeepers, did laundry when needed. It's actually easier and cheaper now, being a single father. She couldn't afford child support. She doesn't budget well for what she makes now. As far as I am concerned, she can keep the new car I just bought her. I will pay off the marital debt, which is quite substantial since she ran it all up. Although sticking points with me will be insurance, property taxes for said vehicle. Also, if my name continues to be on the title, she would be very restricted on who could drive it. I simply cannot be responsible for any damages exceeding insurance coverage. I just can't imagine what she is thinking. She simply can't afford to pay any portion of any of this. Oh, wait a minute. She isn't thinking. Or maybe she is. She knows that I am a responsible person. I will make sure it is taken care of. I am simply responsible for too much. Always have been. But that's okay. I can handle it, and things will get better for me and my children. Just working on limiting the damage. She is welcome to move on, projecting her insecurities and unhappiness onto someone else. The children, me, all that we have done, were never enough. It's sad. Even her family is urging me to do what I need to do to protect those of us left. In this state I am responsible for half the marital debt. Currently she pays only her own current bills. Unfortunately, she couldn't even come close to paying any of her half of the marital debt. I understand the joint debt laws in the US. We are both responsible until they are paid off. As part of a settlement strategy, I will pay them all off. She will occasionally be driving my children around. I want her to have a new, reliable, safe car to do it in. She is welcome to continue living her new life. It's what she wants. Good. We will forever be tied through our children. At least I have to be grateful to her for them. When the thoughts of her coming back creep into my mind, I have to constantly remind myself of all the bad times. Yes, there are many that I had rationalized over the years. They were really bad. No more codependency for me anymore. Comment down below. My comment. Sub and bell and tell us how life after divorce is. Maybe OP can come out of divorce being a better person.